going on, guys? I've got to get this white on my palette. We're going to try to paint with some mud mix today, I think, because I know we talk a lot about the mud mix. I don't know if I've ever really shown you, but right here, this is what I'm talking about. This big pile right here. Seems like it gets a little bit bigger every time we do this, but that's just because we don't really use it as much as we probably should. I think I'm pretty good on the rest of my colors here, so I'm not sure I need to really get much more. Besides, I don't know that we're going to be painting for especially long a day. Guessing it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode this time around. Yeah. I told myself today that I wanted to get a little bit more what's going on down in here, and I think that's what we're going to focus on. Let's see what we can manage. I think I'm going to try a little bit of the Viridian with some alizarin crimson, and this is probably going to be a fairly muddy mixture. Yeah, well, of course it's going to be a little bit mud, but it's going to lean towards violet absolutely, because the mixing curve on Viridian and alizarin crimson goes pretty violet, or at least it curves down towards blue. I think we're going to need to put a little bit of excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied here. We're going to need to put a little bit of blue into that. Yeah, I got a decent amount of my mix, but yeah, we're going to need some red on this. It's okay. I'm having another one of those days where it feels like just losing control. Just feels like everything's falling apart for me. Yeah, some days you just feel like you don't have the control that you want. Like I say, that's why I paint a lot. Just to feel like things are alright. Things are alright, buddy. Things are alright. Okay. I think we got something we can work with here, maybe. Maybe. It's a fine balance to look for the right color here, but I think that this is about it. Okay. Maybe we should try for some flesh tones too. That might be something to do. Yeah. Yeah. Alright. Let's start right about here, I want to say. Yeah, right about here. Got kind of a nice violet color there, don't we? A little bit. It's not too bright. It's a little bright though. Kind of surprising considering I put some Viridian there. I put some of that gray mix that we were using. I think I've just felt the stress recently of making videos. It feels like you're always doing it, you know. You never really stop editing. It's a real rat race sometimes. Sometimes you just get tired of doing it. Especially if there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest. Not in these videos that we're doing here, just in other things that are kind of unrelated to art and all that. These videos seem like people really enjoy having them on while they're trying to sleep and stuff. That's good. I guess maybe it makes people feel relaxed, and well, I like that. Makes you feel good, you know. I feel like I'm chasing a color here that's nigh impossible to get. What we probably should be doing is trying to make it a little bit greener. A little bit greener, a little bit grayer. Maybe that's what we need. Yeah. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, I suspect that that's the color that I want. I think I was trying to chase a purple when I should have been chasing more of an orangey color all along. My eyes are betraying me. Well, be kind to yourself if you ever feel like your eyes are betraying you. It just means that you need a little bit of practice. I should know. I haven't painted in so long that my eyes are betraying me constantly. So I guess I can't be too mad at myself for getting some things wrong here and there. Nah. We're not painting here to... Well, we're not painting here to try and, I guess, show off. Just painting here because it feels good. Yeah, that's mostly what we're doing here. I got tired of doing all those ASMR painting videos a while back. Mostly because constant comparisons to Bob Ross just make you feel like you don't have any worth as a person. Because at the end of the day, I'm not Bob Ross. When people want to compare me to him, it makes me feel like I don't have value as an artist, value as a person. People don't realize how insulting it is to be told that you're a Wish.com version of some other famous person. Somewhere along the way, some people decided that that's a compliment somehow, and it's not. It's incredibly insulting and incredibly demeaning. Wish people would stop trying to compare people to others like that. I'm sure they probably mean well, though. It's usually how it goes. You can never attribute things to malice that would otherwise be attributed to ignorance. I don't even know that ignorance is the right word, but maybe it's the best one that fits. This is an unusual color, it feels like. We're painting a lot of colors that just feel unusual, aren't we? Yeah. Well, you know, earthy colors are like that. I don't know how earthy we want to get with this. Maybe we want to get especially earthy, maybe we don't. It's hard to judge sometimes with certain colors. Okay, we want to go like all the way down here with what we're doing, I think. But also we want to try and get some... We want to try to get some blue and some loose ribbons in there to notate some of the dark colors. Okay, maybe we'll just get a little bit of the yellow in there. Can't use too much mud mix when we're trying to notate dark colors and all. It's too hard. This one's going to be mostly blue, I think. Got a good feeling about the blue. Okay. More blue though. There. That'll do it. Okay. Let's go ahead and throw some of this down in there. Just like that. This painting feels like it's slowly coming together. Feels nice. I don't know that I'll ever do another ASMR painting video ever again. I'm just tired of doing it. I think people tell me you're a ripoff of Bob Ross all the time. It just makes you wonder if it's really worth doing it. And I don't think it is. I'd rather work on some more serious art pieces. That's all I really want to do here. Here, let's notate this line. There's a little bit of a shadow color here. Let's see if we can get it. It's not too shabby. And maybe right about here. And there's a little bit of curve because the sheet that the figure is sleeping on is going to be kind of coming up a little bit. We're kind of looking at the figure here from a worm's eye view, so it's going to be giving us a lot of information from down below. There's some folds going on here that we'll just try to slap in some darks on. Yeah. There's one right there, and then there's one that's going all the way up in here, right up in there. I think one of the downsides of doing so many of those ASMR painting videos was just that you never really got a chance to do more serious art. And I've done a lot of more serious art on live streams, a lot more serious art in my most recent videos. And it's a lot more rewarding than the ASMR painting stuff is. Seems like those videos are more about the people that watch them are more interested in ASMR than they are the art. And, well, it's not all that useful on a channel that is called Soulkeeper's Art Studio. Well, I imagine with the influx of my most recent videos that, well, most people might leave. Maybe. If they do, that's okay. Or maybe there's some of them will be interested in what's going on here. I hope so. Because I think we've got some cool stuff happening. I think the first thing you need to do before you really learn to paint is learn to draw. I can do things fairly rapidly, mostly because I've done a lot of drawing. If you don't learn how to draw, painting is very, very hard. Some people want to jump straight into painting and handling colors and all that. It's such a different ballgame. Very complicated one. I recommend actually going in and doing a watercolor before you do anything with an oil painting, believe it or not. I really recommend it. I don't recommend just handling paint right off, or oil paint. People say that oil paint is the easiest medium and that watercolor is the hardest. And maybe that's true, but watercolor has a certain freedom about it. And also it demands that you work more on your drawing. I think that's ideal, really. I think that's the best thing you can do, is just work more on your drawing. Like I say, you can't just jump straight into things. You gotta learn how to draw, guys. There's no way around it. I say as some of my drawing capabilities have probably diminished over the past couple of years. Now, believe me, I'm coping. I'm going to paint some flesh tones here, I think, some very rudimentary flesh tones. I think what we're going to do here is just lay some things down very crudely. Boy, that's a reasonably dark, flesh tone. I don't know that I'm in love with this one, but I think we'll embellish it a little bit. There's no thinking about it. We're absolutely going to do that. Okay, right in here. Yeah, this is way too rosy. It's a good thing we're going to go in with some golden colors and some yellows and stuff and try to make this a little bit more lively. Not that it's ugly or anything, but it needs something, I guess, is what I'm driving at. But it's a good base. It's a good start. You gotta take it easy on yourself. I know I say things sometimes that make it seem like I'm being hard on myself, but really I'm just kind of analyzing the painting as I'm going. And if you paint for a long period of time, you start to do that naturally. And you start to analyze and ask yourself questions about where this can go, what could make it better, stuff like that. Sometimes you're your own worst critic. This feels like it's maybe not long enough, so let's just edge some of this stuff in here, bring that down a little bit. Okay. It's looking better and better, honestly. Yeah. I think what we'll do is maybe ooh. We did use quite a bit of mud on that one. We're using a little bit of mud today. This is nice. We've been focusing so hard on other stuff that we haven't had a chance to use it. I think I'm going to use my Cadmium Yellow Deep. The Cadmium Yellow Deep I'm using is a little bit orangey. Maybe a little too orange. I don't know. Well, regardless, let's try this out. See what it looks like. Okay. Yeah, this is looking very fleshy already. It's one of those things about cadmium orange colors. They have that automatic like flesh tone that you can just kind of use. It's great. It's one of those reasons that you just gotta love cadmium orange colors. It's called Cadmium Yellow Deep, but the one that I'm using definitely has that orange tone to it. And you can tell because on the tube, the ingredient is a cadmium red. It's a very, very yellow cadmium red, and unusually red cadmium yellow. Curiously enough, the orange in the line is made with an actual orange pigment. So weird. Okay, here we go. Let's try this. Look how fleshy that is. That is more or less just cadmium yellow deep with a tint on it. Isn't that wild? Yeah. Legitimate. Let's try to smooth that out a little bit. Okay. It still doesn't feel yellow enough. I don't know, the skin feels a little bit burnt, I guess is what I'm driving at. So let's just, let's maybe try something here. Maybe get a little bit of yellow on this. Okay. I'm just going to do something a little bit more high key. And just stick it right in there. Yeah. And maybe down in here, we'll have a few more strokes of that yellow and that cadmium yellow deep, guys. Yeah. Let's add a little bit of yellow. And some white to that yellow. And then I think will we finally have the color we're looking for? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. It's somewhere more in the ballpark of what we want. Yeah. Finally it's getting a little bit, finally it's getting lighter. Okay. Let's add more white to that because it is getting a little bit muddied. Yeah. This probably isn't going to be light enough, but I think it'll still be pretty. Yeah. Yeah, that will be pretty. This is going to be a very fleshy color. Cadmium is interesting as a color. Cadmium is kind of dull in tints sometimes, depending. Although cadmium yellow tends to be very, very bright in tints. A lot of cadmium colors kind of get a little bit duller. They still have a certain radiance to them. And they glow when they're on the canvas. It's something that you just don't really get from a lot of other colors. The way that cadmiums handle, the way that they glow. There's a reason that people use them. It's one of those things that it's difficult to describe, but if you handle art materials on a regular basis, you really notice the handling on certain paints, which is why I use a lot of colors over others. There are some colors that are popular that I just have a hard time with because they don't handle all that well. Okay, we're starting to get some pretty interesting results here, I think. We're really messing around with this cadmium and it's really conjuring up some interesting stuff. There, I'm just going to do a little rim of light right here around that flesh color. I call it a flesh color, but I don't know. How fleshy is it looking? We might have to wait until this dries to do anything more with it. I'll tell you what I'll do though. I feel like getting something a little bit more in there. I like using alizarin crimson for one of my flesh colors generally because there's a certain, well, it's bloody for lack of a better way to put it. It just looks bloody and it really adds a lot to the mix. It adds a lot to the appearance of flesh. I think by and large, I like using a few certain colors for flesh tones. I like using the ultramarine, I like using the alizarin crimson, and then I kind of just use the cadmium yellow. Now, if we were doing, I guess, more of a realism type painting, yellow ochre and Naples yellow would probably be better choices. I don't use Naples yellow. I don't use Naples yellow that much anymore, though. I don't see a lot of point in it, honestly. It's okay as a color. I've used quite a few Naples Yellows colors, and some of them are good, and some of them are bad. The good ones handle very well, but it's not a color that you have to use. Plus, the more colors you use, guys, boy, it gets harder to paint with. I talk a lot about color, and I probably should talk about other aspects of painting. Well, yeah, it would be a thing to do, wouldn't it? Well, here's what we'll do. We'll put a little bit of this over in, say, here. That little slice of flesh right there. Okay, that right there, and then we'll add a little bit of that pink color over in here, guys. Right here. See how it kind of just fits right in? Kind of just goes in there. And no one bats an eye. Interesting the way that works. And then right here too. Honestly, as long as you get the values right and you're in sort of a generic hue range, you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff. You can put all kinds of colors in different places. You're not married to just naturalistic color. You can kind of slap almost anything at all in there, and as long as the value's right, you can kind of get away with it. Now, if the color is completely different, that's when things start to become a little bit more fantastic. And what I mean by that is that people start to believe it a little bit less. Value, that's the name of the game. That's what people, I think, have the most trouble with when they're doing things. It's just getting their values right. And value is a dance. Value is a dance that you do with all your materials to try. It's a dance you do with your composition, guys. That's what it is. That's what it is. And you have to adjust certain values against others to really capture the essence of the painting. Because sometimes you'll put down one value and you'll think you have things right, and then, well, you put down other things next to it, and then you realize you have to adjust that value. It gets easier as time goes on. You start to realize what maybe you should do versus what you shouldn't do. Here, you'll notice that I'm putting down some cadmium red light, just some good strokes of it. This is a tint. It's kind of blending right in with there. Here, let's just put a little bit right here. Like I say, you can get away with a lot of stuff. There's a lot you can just do. And that's what I'm doing right now, just getting away with things. Maybe we want to add a little bit more white in there. Yeah, maybe we do. And then we'll just, maybe not that white. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you do things and it doesn't really work out. That's better though. Okay. That's a little bit better. Because we have a nice basis for something over there now. And maybe we could do something over here. Like maybe start slapping in some of that toe. Maybe we'll just, I'm noticing that maybe the tip of the toe has a little bit more color in there than the rest of it. And maybe there's a little bit more cadmium red going around on the edges. This is probably a bit much, but it's also a good start. Fascinating. Yeah, that's interesting. that's about flesh tones we got. Those are some pretty good flesh tones we got today. Pretty happy with a lot of what we did there. There were some rough patches, I think. Trying to get the fabric color right. Sometimes those shadows really trip you up. That's okay though. That's alright. And now we actually got to use some mud too. That's pretty cool. I was worried that all this color, all this paint was going to go to waste. But now we got a little bit more. Honestly, we probably have just as much as we did when we began, but at least it feels like we did something. You never really run out of mud, I guess is the takeaway here. Like, it feels like you can use it all up, but you're going to have some at the end of each painting session. It's one of those things you just kind of have to accept. You're going to have a lot of it. I don't know if anyone has any difficulty with their own painting out there, but I guess I'd be interested in hearing what kind of troubles people are having. I don't know, maybe you haven't painted for a while like me. I wonder sometimes how many people out there watching right now are painting. I think the two biggest things I notice when I look at people's art and they show me is I notice the drawing ability. The drawing ability is, well, it needs work a lot of the time. I think people get so caught up in what their colors are that they forget that they need to practice how to draw. They need to practice composition. Those are the two things right there. Composition and just the quality of their drawings. Because if you don't have a composition and you're not drawing with some degree of finish, it doesn't really matter what colors you're going to use. Your painting is not going to be any good. Composition comes first. And I feel like the composition that we have going on here is strong enough that whatever mistakes we make, I think in the end, it's all going to work out.